Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock, and I'm here for Norma Talks. And today we're going to have a whole different subject. And the reason for that is I am so tired of freezing that I'm having a shorter session. Who knows how long it'll be, in order to explain the crystal balls. Now, I'm going to adjust the computer screen a little bit because it's sitting down. I don't have a stand here, but I'm going to show you more here. Here's my crystal ball. This is my main crystal ball that I have used for years. And this one here is what I called my travel crystal ball, because for many years I worked with the psychic fairs. I produced them for 11 years as well. So I used to travel. So the little one used to come with me and sit on my table, and occasionally I would use it. But this was the main ball. It's quite cold because it's just been sitting on my bookcase here, gracing the middle of one shelf. Crystal balls have been utilized for years and years. Hang on, I'll see. I'm trying to see if I can get both in, me and it. All that. Anyway, you'll be able to see. You got the idea. It's pretty big. It's heavy, actually. That's why it didn't ever really traveled with me. It always stayed in the office. And wasn't that I read all the time, and quite often, especially at the psychic fairs, people would like to see what the crystal ball would show or say. So how do we work them is basically, see me rubbing my hands already, because I would activate the chakras in my palms, which would help the reading of it. Now, already we have two people with us. Welcome, Master 7 and Karen Bunny. Welcome. So today, this crystal ball element, I've even got you can't see it, but I've even got a little cloth with moons and stars on it here, because one always needs to have a nice cloth underneath the crystal ball. The art of reading the crystal ball really is how you look into it. Now, I do want to say, as I said in the beginning, that this won't be a long presentation, because I'm so fed up with this thing freezing on me and then having to restart. So we shall see what's what and how it works. I'm just activating my hands a little bit. Poor things. It hasn't been really used for a few years now. The other element of reading a crystal ball, though, is that you don't look right in it. What you're doing is you're taking your clairvoyant eye and placing it in the ball. A lot of people say they read the crystal ball, but they don't. They're reading just straight clairvoyancy. I always saw pictures in my crystal ball, always. And it would formulate, and it would show me what I wanted to see for the person or whatever. And a lot of that is I'm just trying to get some little get some energy in it, so I can, I don't know, it's, Matthew 7 said he wanted to take a look at his eyes, because he wants them well, which we know because of Monday nights. But what I see here is like, it's almost like there's a curtain over the eyes. When I say that, now remember, when you're looking at something psychically, it can be very different from looking at it from a very practical point of view. The whole element of the psychological element that goes in, the spiritual element, the awareness. And so when I think of 07's eyes and the way of seeing, it's almost like a thick curtain that comes across. That would actually, I want to go back to probably about the age 7. And there is something there when you were about at the age of 7 that began the curtain. It wasn't very thick then, but it came across. So something happened at around the age 7 that you didn't want to see, experience, know, whatever. And that has been compounded over the different experiences that you don't like, that you don't want to see, that you don't want to know about. So this is all about truth and awareness of what is and what is, how it works and how it doesn't. And this is about, unfortunately, for you to be able to see, I'm going to use the word realistically. It's like looking at things bluntly and aware and not try to figure out how come. There's no how comes, it just is. It's a saying that I have used a lot over the years. It just is. There's no way one can change it. There's no way one can make it different. It just is. Life often just is. You will not make a decision about anything effectively until you accept what is. In other words, the reality. Reality is the key here. So anyway, let me go back to how this reading a crystal ball works from my perspective. Because as I say, a lot of people, they have crystal balls in front of them, but they don't actually read the ball. They don't actually take a look at the picture inside because they have pictures in here. You could say I transform it. I don't transform it. I look and the ball forms a picture for me. How did I learn how to read it? I don't really think anyone taught me. I think my guides taught me more than anything. They showed me how to do it, how to use my hands, how to work with it, how to energize it, how to get things happening. And so the whole element of how you can see and project a picture into a crystal ball. This one is a nice big one that I picked up. It's not too, doesn't have too many anything. It's pretty clear. But what it is about you can, and if you have a crystal ball like this little one, which is, as I said, was my travel ball, because I couldn't travel with this thing's heavy, believe me. But I would travel with this one on my desk when I had tarot, mostly reading tarot cards, but this always sat there. And if I really wanted to know, sometimes the cards just didn't have all the information I wanted. I'd look in the crystal ball and it would give me an impression. It would give me a picture to work on, and I could weave that into the story. But it traveled many, many, many miles. It's a little bit beaten up, actually. It's got chipped. It's because it traveled. This one always stayed on my main desk at home. Now, what you can do if you have a crystal ball of any kind, what you want it to be as clear as possible. And you can't just take, well, I used to also, and I honestly, I can't find it. I look for it. I used to also have a large, just regular crystal that I could put in my hand and had facets in it. And I could use that sometimes for reading things as well. I can't find that. I know that it's been lost in the moves and the changes and something. It's not in it. I couldn't find the pouch. I couldn't find it. So, because I was going to show that too. And that's another way you can, which was easy for traveling. I had this crystal and I had facets in it. It was quite a big one. So it was like a regular, it wasn't like a crystal. It was a regular crystal that you would buy. But it had facets in it and I could look in the facets, and that really worked. But anyway, back to those crystal balls. Sorry, I'm a little bit scattered. So feels like it anyway. So one of the things is you need to put energy in whatever. So if you have any kind of crystal that you want to begin to work with, is that you energize it through the chakras in your hand. So you just kind of put it, weave around it. You can put it right on it if you're like, I'm a kind of hands-on person. Whoops, I made my computer move. I don't like that. And warm them up, so to speak. So this one hasn't really been used for quite some time. So I wanted to warm it up. Then you don't look into the crystal ball flat on you. Like you don't look down the bottom of it. It's like you come in at an angle, and as you're looking at that, you watch it move through. So it's like and the picture will form inside the ball. As I said, a lot of people see in their clairvoyant eye, but I actually read the ball. And I would put the question to it once I got it warmed up and into the vibration where I was reading for. And then they wanted another question. I would pose it to the ball and it would form. Learned lots of things from it. gave lots of information to it. So it's like, as you can see, I'm charging it up. My hands are like ringing because we haven't done this for quite a long time now. The key is not, as I said, not like people want to look into. That's not how you do it. It's like you come in at it at an angle, like from where you're sitting. You look down and through it. The picture will form, but if you haven't developed your clairvoyance, if you haven't developed your third eye, it's hard. It would be hard. The biggest thing is, for those of you that are interested in developing psychically, is to find a good teacher where you can learn how to develop your psychic talents, because we all have different ones. Some people feel things, that they're clairaudient. That's a hearing. Clairaudient is hearing, clairvoyance seeing, and then clairsensory is where you feel. Now, I have probably a combination, but I was a feeler primarily. Why cards worked so well for me. But over the years, because I read, been reading cards since I was very young, fairly young. And so I was used to seeing pictures. So I was used to developing that clairvoyance part of me and intuiting, you going by the feeling. Things had feelings for me. I could pick up something and I could feel it if I wanted. Now, I didn't walk around like that because I found that the difference between being a trained psychic and just being psychic, many people are psychic, but they don't train. They don't learn how to turn it on or turn it off. They need to live your life. Your life is your life. You've got relationships, you have dreams, you have things that you want to do, and those needed to be tended. It's like a garden. You tend your life. But if you're like me, who seem to have this other element as well, is that then you knew how to put it on, turn it on or off. You don't walk around open psychically. That's one of the major things that you don't do. What you are is who you are. You have your personality, you have your good sides, your not so good sides, you have your moods, you have everything, because you're a real person. And at the end of your life, when you kind of, they talk about how you have a review. Well, I'm getting to that point now where I'm viewing things anyway, but it's like you can't say, oh, but I did this or I did that. You have to commit to all of it. And you have to know that you did the best you could with what you had. But a lot of it is, what do you learn? And of course, I'm a philosopher, so it's like, I know my books are not like you call bestsellers and they're out there, but I did used to write things out in little booklets, because I just wanted to share some of the information that I was getting on the different topics I was looking at or coming to understand. But it's about how you work your life. And most of us are born with an intuitiveness. For me, I tuned that in. I had a grandmother who was a medium. And I grew up with stories. My dad would tell me of how she would heal headaches, but how she got the headache. And I had him show me what my grandmother did. Now, my grandmother died when my father was, 11? And he was in his 40s when I was born. So anyway, he's showing me, he said, well, let's say somebody's head. She would take them and she would sweep her hands like this. Now, I want you to notice the level I swept my hands. And she would say, peace be still, peace be still. Then the person's headache would be gone, but my grandmother would get it. So I said, Dad, because I'd been studying really well when I went home to visit, I said, you know what? If she had flung her hands out away from her, she wouldn't have got the headache. And this is the part of the learning that you learn when you begin to study and how the years have gone on. Energy, when you're taking energy for one thing, you don't leave it in your aura here. You flip it way beyond. You move it out. And that's why if you're ever in a psychic fair or where healers are working, you will find they don't just move their hands. They don't just move it. They'll make sure their aura has nothing in it, that you stay clear to be yourself. So again, if you're having difficulty in a crowd, just think, what energy am I picking up? And what am I holding on to? Because very often, if someone's going through a painful situation and we're an empath, we will empathize even though we don't know that person and somehow want to relieve, we want to help, we want to achieve. We will take that on. I'm very aware when I'm in crowds that I bring my aura in really close, because it's very easy to be out there and next minute you have the world in your aura space, and that's not what you want. You want to be solid, you want to be firm, to be able to move beyond that. And so it's like you are in a way like a little crystal prism, but you want to be clear. So again, if you're gonna help somebody, some people have wonderful healing hands. I don't aim to say that I have that, but they have great empathy and they can put their hand on somebody and they can transmit the energy from themselves to someone else, but they don't take it on. If you're untrained, very often that will get transmitted to you. And if you're an untrained person out there, just remember, let it go way out beyond your aura. Most auras run around 3 feet. Sometimes mine, when I was speaking to a big crowd, it would fill the whole room, but I didn't take it on. I just was expanding out to find what needed to be said. Sometimes when you're speaking, it's like you get to taken, as people know on the show, it's like you're out there watching and all of a sudden I'm changing topics. It's like, yeah, well, somebody out there needs to hear this or hear that. So it's like being in the moment, but not taking it on to shift or change you. Because your inner core is you. I used to say, I grew up with older parents, older aunts and things like that. And people were dying as I was growing on up. And I wasn't quite in my body for many, many years. And it's around knowing that transitional period that when the soul leaves the body, we declare it dead, the body dead, but the person's not dead. I've talked about, I've been talking on this show for a couple of years now. I've talked about reincarnation and I've talked about what we're doing. So we want to be prepared. Where are we going next? Is your guide still around? If you have guides, like people have, or teachers, or whatever you want to call those people that from the other side. We are physical beings, but we don't walk this planet alone. We have a lot of helpers. There's a lot of people out there that want to help. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people at lower levels that you don't want to be helped with. And that's, again, what's your vibration? Do you look positively? How do you judge positive to negative? Well, one makes you feel good and one doesn't. So if you have feelings that don't make you feel good and want to not have anything to do with those people out there or whatever, think about what makes you happy. What brings you delight? What gives you that oomph in life? It's some people have already commented, in the last few years, I've just had a lot of health crises, one thing after the other. And every time I think, oh, good, that's done, it's something else. And it's like, then they say, but you just seem to ride through it. Well, what's the alternative? Be miserable? Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes I've been really like bamboozled. But you learn to have your value of what you're wanting to create and where you're wanting to be and what you're wanting to do. I didn't have a lot of energy for a long time, but I had energy for my shows because it gave me pleasure. You need pleasure. You need to feel good. You need to have people around you that enjoy you. And if you're not feeling that you want to have people around, then that's okay. But make sure you're enjoying, because your vibration is going out there into the vibration of the world. There's ways of measuring using a pendulum mainly. You can measure your vibration with another person. If you've got a good friend, I'm just going to reach my major number 1 pendulum, which is not a crystal one, by the way. It's actually a brass one. I'm going to put it closer to. This is my working one, mainly because it doesn't break. You travel with crystal ones, they break somewhere along the line. And also I found this one to be incredibly accurate, especially when I used to do a lot of ghost busting. If you're interested in ghost busting, I have a little booklet called The Ghost I Took Home, and talks a lot about how to clear houses. And I used to do that. Then it got to the point where I wasn't having fun with it anymore, so I didn't want to do it. But pendulums are an extension of yourself. I use them in my transformation work to show where we need to go, what we need to do, which part of the system is clogged or blocked and what isn't. So I find this is probably my biggest helper today, because I don't really sit here and read. I read my cards. Yes, people make an appointment with the cards. And yes, on the 21st, I'm doing a special for 20 minutes for $50 on reading cards. So I'm taking appointments for that. That's not so far away. It was my mother's birthday, 21st of June. I just realized, gosh, she was born in 1905. Dad was born in 1903. She was born in 1905. So she would be quite old now. Anyway, I'm just going to I want to show you something. The pendulum is over the crystal ball. I'm not doing anything with it. We're just going to give it a moment or two while it picks up the energy. And you'll notice I'm not making that swing, honest. And it's going to swing, and you watch. It's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until it's going to whirl. I haven't done this for a while. It's kind of fun. I'll do it over the little one in a minute or two, and it'll really ring, and then all of a sudden it will come to the stop part. In other words, it's showing you the power that this crystal ball has in its own self. And it's been sitting for a number of years on my shelf, not being worked. But look at it. Look how much energy that it has within it. And you'll see my hand's not moving. I'm not moving that. The ball's doing. Now it's slowing down. And so that's how much power is in that ball there. I just made that. Now I'm going to move this. I'm going to, oh, God, you won't know how heavy that is. Anyway, this is the little one. See, baby. But we'll see the pendulum. I'm going to put the pendulum on it. And you'll see, even with the baby one, how the pendulum begins to go. But because it's tiny, it's quicker in the sense of how it's running around. So it's not going to be so big, and it probably won't take as long, because these have not been energized. And I was working a little bit energizing the big one, but the little one's been on the side. Look at this. Goes around and around. Now, if you don't have a pendulum, if you want to start working with your psychic ability, find a pendulum. Pendulum is anything that's got a heavy end, but crystal, most of the stores that sell kind of, offbeat stuff, they'll have pendulums. You can find one that you like. This one is not how I started with. I used to own lots of them, but, houses change, things get lost. It's starting to wind down now. But that just shows you how much this little one, which again hasn't been used for years, how much, she's a biggie, how much energy they actually have in them. But I was going to say, if you want to start developing, you can get, I might as well, since nothing, using this part of your wrist here on the underside. I'm just going to move this ball out of the way for a moment. You want to start developing, or you want to have a tool that you can work. You take your wrist on this underside, go buy yourself a pendulum if you don't have one. A lot of women have necklaces that have a long droop, anything that's heavier at the end. Put it on your wrist, raise it up, and think yes. Now, my yes is a circle, okay? So it's saying yes, going around. Okay. Then you put it down again, and then you think no, and that's my no. There's no right or wrong. You might have your yes being back and forward and your no being around. The idea is to find exactly what it is. Is it a yes? Is it a no? What? Then you have something happen and you want to know an answer. You can, again, magnetize it with your wrist. Think of the question. Give it a moment or a second. I'm just trying to think. The then you'll see the pendulum begin to work. I just thought of a little question in my head about my mouth coming up next week. And it says yes. So that tells me, or if it was for me, if it was going to go, I'm going to make it do that. If it was going to go around, it would be a no. So these are kind of the tools of the trade. I'm just going to pull the big bowl back again. It's so nice to actually have it there. And so if anyone does have a quick question, because I'm kind of getting to the end of what I want to say, 07 talked about his eyes. And I did that early about looking at the eyes of almost like pulling the blinds up, things like that. These are the things sometimes that don't make sense. Like you can, like, what's the scientific? What is the medicine people say? What are the medical people say? And often what we have going on is based on our own psychological makeup. Where are we? What are we doing? Are we perfect? No, we're not. But we have self-forgiveness. We can forgive ourselves. We can forgive ourselves for what we do. I live in forgiveness because I have a mouth that comes out without thinking. I say things sometimes. I do things sometimes. And I've had to do a lot of self-forgiveness because I'm not perfect. And I don't know anybody who is. If they are, they have what we would call a serious problem with themselves. If you take yourself to the point that you're going to be absolutely perfect, absolutely the way you want. But hopefully it'll explain a little bit more, because I was scared that we were going to freeze again today, that I didn't want to be involved in a long subject. And so here we are, nearly 30 minutes, not quite, we're nearly there. Karen says, my friend told me she was diagnosed with lung cancer yesterday. How can I help her without picking up her energy? It's okay to have someone's energy. It's just that, remember, when if you're doing anything physically, you just make sure that your aura is clear. Okay, I'm going to have to step into what I have found about lungs. Lungs is that we don't want to breathe what we're seeing, hearing, or feeling. Lungs is the breathing in and out. I'm not a big breather. I'm not a good breather personally. I never have. But I breathe. And I'm always aware of where are my feelings, where am I going, things like that. I without being, what's the word I want to say about your friend, if she's willing to listen, ask her what doesn't she like about her life. What would she change? What would she have different? And to look back in her life, I'm presuming she's around your same age, approximately. I would go to the late 20s. Ask her what happened in the late 20s that she didn't like or didn't assimilate well. Sometimes things happen just with the eyes, any other organ in our body that we, what's the word? We think we dealt with it. And often we've dealt with it by putting behind a door, and the door moves in that way. And we all have stuff. I mean, look what I've been through in the last 2 years, with the melanomas that were horrible, actually. But again, medical science, until finally that made my life so terrible, I said, that's it. I've done enough of that. And so far we're doing okay. Now that we've got the teeth thing going on, just goes on. It's called life. How do we manage life? Do we fight it? Do we resist it? Anything you've resisted, those of you with medical conditions, take a look at what you're resisting. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We look at different things. But your friend Karen, I think, has to go back to her 20s and find out what she didn't assimilate, what she didn't deal with, what she put away. We put them behind doors, and we don't like to think about them. We don't like to go there because it doesn't make us feel good. Who said life is supposed to make us feel good? I know we have a tendency, don't get me psychological, I'll be philosophical in it all the time. Alley-oop, I just want to say thank you for being on. And we'll do Shay. Hi, Norma. I just wanted to send you lots of love and let you know that I'm highly grateful for your videos. I want to ask about how to contact my friend who passed away last week. They're still going to be busy. They're going to be busy in getting it adjusted. Even if you're expecting, even if you know that you're going to be passing over, there's still a lot of adjustment. I would say up to even from between 3 weeks to 4 or 5 weeks. There's adjustments. But so how do you contact them? Think about them. Send them love. Send them support. I know a lot about death and dying. I've talked about it. Past life regression is up to here for years, explaining the death process, how it works. But I'm still here. So, but I do know the process. And I do know when, I have to tell you a funny story. This is not really funny. When COVID first started, I was in Mexico. Hadn't really hit like that, all the restrictions. I was down in Mexico on a holiday with a friend, wanting to see a tennis tournament, actually, and which I never made. I stayed the night. I flew from Vancouver down to the main city. Can't remember the name at the moment. And then we went over onto the coast to Acapulco with the idea I was going to get tickets for us to go see this tennis match. Every day that I was there, I was feeling weaker. I wasn't feeling well. I didn't like the food. I was achy. I wasn't present. And a week later, I reversed that and got home. And I was just arrived home now, being away a week, where people started to have coughs and colds, and the hospitals were getting a little bit inundated with people with everything. Anyway, I phoned my doctor, and I phoned my doctor somewhere in there, and she said, and I said, I just feel terrible. And she said, are you coughing? I said, no, I'm not coughing. I'm not a cougher. Some people, that's lungs, right? I'm not a cougher. She said, okay, take this, do that, whatever. Well, anyway, I have never had a fever in my life. And I'm in bed one night feeling miserable, and I start having a fever. And it's so hot, that hot flash, and I've never had one. I couldn't remember ever having one. And I went, am I dying? Like, am I dying? My logic clicked in, and I went, hold on. There's no daughter. There's no mother. There's no guide. No, I'm not dying. I rolled over in bed, and that was the end of that. But it was like, when you think you may be dying, look who's there. Not in physical form, in non-physical form, because those that have gone before will come for you. Or if you are like me and have had guides throughout your life, and I've had some really big, I'm going to just wipe my nose a sec. Hang on a minute. Really serious. I have a very, very high evolved one for many, many years that led me till I began not to, anyway. He's already busy way up there. And I was like, where are they? They're not here. So I can't be dying. And that was the end of that. And I began to get better. But that was my touch in with how this virus thing was going on. But it was like, be aware. So how do you've got to give them time. Sorry, I kind of got sidetracked on my little story. You've got to give them time to adjust. And if anything, you just send out the thought. It's kind of like a beacon, a radio beacon. If they want, they'll come to you, and they can come to you in dream time, or you'll sense them. And then you can have your mental conversation. Send them love. In the meantime, just send lots of love, knowing they'll make their transition easy. Some people's transition is no problem at all. Others are tough. depends on your belief, on your what you've handled, what you've let go of. The one thing about when you get to my age, and you know that that's the next step somewhere, is that you need to be clear that when you think back over your life, you don't have any knot that you haven't resolved inside yourself. That you can look at your life and you can forgive yourself for when you screwed up, messed up, didn't handle things correctly. Self-forgiveness becomes really important in those latter parts. You need to be contented. I'm not contented because I like talking and I like teaching and I like people to be aware of things. And I am so happy we haven't frozen once, and I hope I'm not bringing anything on. So anyway, thank you for your questions, a few questions there. So if you find yourself a crystal ball, you can start off with a little one like this. I forget, I've had that for years. As I said, it was my travel one when I was packing my bag. Tarot cards, pendulums, crystal ball. But this one, it was my favorite. I loved it from the moment I saw it, so it's mine. Know that there are tools that will help you. Know that your integrity, your generosity of heart will lead you where you need to be. I want to thank you for listening. And for those of you that regularly tune in, I look forward to speaking with you, even though it's not one-on-one. I'm here. And as I've had a couple of people, thank you for saying thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, the June, I'll get in touch with you. I'll email you with a time, and then at least you got it booked. Okay? 07, we'll do that. I will have, I've got another one that came in this morning too. So I'm only doing so many on Saturday, the 21st, with these shorter special readings. Okay, anything else? I would just appreciate all you guys from tuning in. And the monthly rating. Yeah, okay, hang on. We'll talk about that later. I just think it's wonderful. Take care. Enjoy. I'm sorry if I'm confusing some of you, but that's the way I am at the moment. I just want to go watch the tennis now. Right. Oh, by the way, I used to play tennis way back when. Bye now. Have a good day.